So this budget is more than about closing this year's budget gap. It's about restoring a foundation. If Buffalo was an airplane, we're in a tailspin going straight down. We're going to pull back on the stick and we're going to start going up. It's the first time we're going to go up in a good number of years. But this budget will put us on sound fiscal footing for the first time in a generation. And that's what the people of City of Buffalo deserve. So how bad's the problem? Oh, it's pretty bad. It's a deep problem. So our city, it's demonstrated by this building, is literally falling apart. The first vehicle you see is a fire response vehicle. The second is a police cruiser. Those cruisers are going 24 hours a day. The maintenance cost is unbelievable. We don't have enough police cars for our police department. And the third slide is one that really hits my heart. You might think that's a scene from some zombie apocalypse movie, but that is a woman's changing room in a pool that was open for City of Buffalo residents last year. That's what we're delivering to the people of the City of Buffalo, and that's got to change. So this is pictures of the building we're in now, and I just remind you, that's a wash bay. It's supposed to be drained and dry after we wash our vehicles. We store salt in here next to vehicles. The salt's always wet, leads to further corrosion, broken windows, roofs with gaping holes. You see, the netting is to prevent debris from falling on people. This is where people come to work each and every day. They deserve better than this. So we're operating on a shoestring. For DPW, Department of Public Works, the department that touches people most directly, we budget $26 million. Rochester, a smaller city, they spend $45 million. Syracuse, a much smaller city, spends $37 million. This is why we don't have enough snowplows to plow our street. We don't have enough garbage trucks to pick up our garbage. So how did we get here? It took us a while to get here, but I'll tell you the tale. So this is revenues and taxes from other upstate cities, Yonkers, Syracuse, Buffalo, and Rochester. So for over a decade, when other fiscally stable cities raised their taxes incrementally over the years, we chose to do the opposite. We actually cut revenue coming in to the City of Buffalo. If you want to understand why we're in this jam, why this building looks like it does, it's because we chose to decrease revenue for over a decade. But nothing's free. But the add up is what really gets us. So all those years, our compounded losses kept adding upon each other, and that leads to a whopping loss of over $600 million that should have been spent to make our city better. Instead, we essentially threw that money out the window. No other city did this. No other city in New York State, probably no other city in the nation did this. But you see, each and every year, 2016 budget, out of balance, $15,000, which meant we spent more money than we had, $15 million out of balance. Every year we were out. And we were about to hit the brick wall in 2020, and then the ARPA money came in. So look at the amount of ARPA money we spent. $65 million, $50 million, $52 million. Other cities, you know what they did? They used the ARPA money to make once-in-a-generation changes to their city. They bought new snow plows. They installed an internet service for their people. They removed lead paint lines. What did we do with that money? We just paid the electric and gas bills. Once-in-a-generation money that will never come back. So we got to get out of this tailspin we're in. So we have a plan to move forward, and we're going to engage on that plan. So this year we're facing a $109 million budget gap. So our budget starts July 1, and we're $109 million short. So we can't cut our way out of $109 million. We already spend less money than any of our peer cities, and making tens of millions of dollars of cuts will already destroy the fragile services that we offer to the city, people of the city of Buffalo. So we have tools at our disposal. These are the tools in our toolbox. We're going to open the toolbox. The tools are dusty. We're going to dust them off, but we're going to use them. So all these are the tools that we're going to employ this year. If we didn't use any of those tools, we had $109 million, we'd have to raise taxes 60% to close the gap. That's just to continue to offer the subpar services that we offer. But we're not going to do that. We know we got $10 million from Governor Hochul come in. That's going to add in. We got money from the gaming compact, comes in about $10 million. Ordinarily, I would never ask my budget commissioner to count that as a resource because it's speculative. But we're in such a bind this year that we're going to count things that ordinarily we wouldn't count. Whether we do the parking ramps or bonds, that's going to bring down the tax increase. We got some good changes in Medicaid Part D, which will bring down the tax increase. And then we're going to do a foreclosure auction. First time in 7 years. Most people pay their bills when they get the notice in the mail. We have not sent a notice in 7 years. And then we're going to do a better job of collecting our fees and our fines. Right now, we collect less than 10% of fees and fines. People know if you get a parking ticket in Buffalo, you don't have to pay it because we never report that to the state. We dismantled the whole system that we had in place to collect these fines over the last generation. And we did it because we kept cheaping out and we laying people off whose job it was to do this work. But it's all come home to roost, and we know the problems we're facing. So with all those tools in the toolbox, we're going to be able to have our levy increase to only about $45 million. So that's what we're going to do to break even. So we're going to hit all these things. They're in the budget book that is provided, and that's how we're going to build this year's budget. So we got a lot of budget details, and I'm going to bring up Deputy Mayor Ben Swanekamp to go through some of those other details. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mayor. And I also want to give a shout out to budget analyst Linda Barnes, who did incredible work getting this budget done. And also want to shout out to Ken Crowley, who's been helping us since the transition. This process honestly began even before we came into office. As soon as Mayor Ryan won the primary, we assembled a team of fiscal experts to begin analyzing the city's historical data and guide us on a path to get us to the budget that you see today. So Ken, thank you for all your help and support. I also want to thank former Budget Director Janet Penska and her team at the Cooney Institute for the Study of Local Government, as well as former Budget Commissioner Donna Estrich for their assistance. So Mayor Ryan gave you the high points. I'm going to go into some of the details of the budget, as well as some of the actual investments we're making. So overall here, we're actually looking at relatively modest growth. So while the adopted 25-26 budget is approximately $622 million, we have made issued a council filing per a BFSA request to actually show the actual amount that we believe will be spent this year. We knew during the transition that the 622 was not a real number. A lot of areas were under budgeted. Healthcare, pension costs, overtime costs weren't real numbers. Our commitment has been to real numbers all along, and that's how we're getting there. So our actual budget is going to come in at $681 million. That is around 2% growth. That's less than inflation right now. Inflation tracking towards nearly 4%. So this actually is a relatively modest growth over the city's real costs this current fiscal year. I've mentioned real numbers. This has been a foundational principle. When our department heads began to meet with the budget office to go through their budget requests for the 26-27 budget, they had a clear instruction. Give us the real numbers. Give us the real facts. What do you need to operate your department properly? That was the core item there. In addition, on the budget office end, some of the larger areas of growth, we looked, again, for real data and real numbers to back that up. Healthcare costs. We're using real numbers based on the experts at Lawley Insurance, who are the city's insurance brokers. They have healthcare actuaries and other experts that help us figure out the real cost, including a contingency for possible overages. Pension costs, we know those real numbers. We get them from the state controller. Those are in the budget. And we also have a salary reserve set aside for future CBA negotiations as well, knowing that's coming up. Real revenue. So the $45 million in levy growth is the foundational piece of this budget. That is, in the state of New York, property tax is how most municipalities get their revenue. That is the foundational revenue source. Getting that into a real place is a solid foundation, not just for this year, but for all years going forward. We have a real plan to collect, working with our new enhanced Bureau of Administrative Adjudication, working with Treasury to send items out to collection, working with parking on TVA enforcement. We have a real path to collect. There's over $100 million across various accounts outstanding for the city of Buffalo. Parking tickets alone, $3.6 million in outstanding revenue there. We're also empowering our parking department. We're making investments in parking. We're adding new parking enforcement officers, and we're filling vacant positions. This isn't just a revenue area, it's also a safety issue, making sure folks aren't parked on sidewalks, at intersections, at crosswalks, things like that. And also the coordination between parking and public works is critical in our winter storms to make sure that our narrow streets have cars moved away for alternate side parking so that our plows can get through and do their job. Additional AIM, thanks to Governor Hochul, we know we're receiving another $10 million of enhanced AIM on top of the $5 million in her initial budget proposal. And we also thank the governor for her support to help close this year's budget gap with another $30 million of support in her 30-day amendments. We are using a conservative estimate on the parking ramp transaction. This budget is based on what we actually know is available to us right now. And so we have an estimate from our underwriter on the revenue from the parking ramp transaction. That's in this budget for the second tranche of payments coming out of the parking ramp transaction, with the first tranche being in this current fiscal year. The enterprise fund is supposed to be budget neutral. It has to be budget neutral. And so we're following the actual proper accounting principles of making sure it meets the actual cost to operate the enterprise fund, as well as pay back a nearly $30 million receivable in the general fund over the course of 6 years with $5 billion incremental payments. We also have a major reimbursement coming from Empire State Development for the purchase of the new DPW campus land, where this site will be moving some years from now. So these folks have a beautiful, brand new, modern facility to keep their equipment working well and to deliver better services for the people of Buffalo. So we had a few key principles and top line items in this budget. There's investments all throughout the departments, but some key areas was giving DPW the tools they need to do their jobs, modernizing our fleet of aging vehicles, and making sure we're ready for winter. So for DPW, giving them the tools they need. There's things like real numbers for vehicle repairs, not just for for DPW, but also for police and fire. Bridge funding. There are CHIPS can pay for a lot of our bridge work, but there are key maintenance things on our bridges that are not paid for out of CHIPS. We're giving the engineering folks the money they need for that. LED conversion for a relatively low cost of a little over $1.6 million. We can convert all of the city's streetlights to LED. That pays for itself instantly with energy savings. New light poles. There are 600 plus light poles down throughout the city. We're adding funding to make sure that National Grid can get those poles back up and modernize the ones that have aging issues. New signage, making sure that our signage is accurate and modern, getting rid of worn signage. That's both a public benefit and a safety feature as well. Traffic signals. Some folks in the media might recall, a few times this past year, there have been signals at major intersections out for weeks at a time. You guys were getting calls from viewers. We want to make sure we have all the parts in stock, so when a traffic signal goes down, the crew from engineering can get out right away and fix it. Heat system. Large portions of downtown Buffalo, including City Hall and City Court, are powered on a district heat system with boilers in a facility behind the old Buffalo Fire headquarters. That facility needs major upgrades and improvements. That will also yield to energy savings and also alleviate some of the issues at City Court, which has had major heating issues over the winters. Real reserves. We're giving the buildings department actual real reserve accounts, so when there are windows that need to be replaced, a roof is leaking, they have a pot of money to draw down from instead of trying to just cobble together funding from vacancy savings. Modernizing our fleet. We're going to be moving to an enterprise fleet model. Over the next 5 years, every medium and light duty vehicle in the city of Buffalo will be replaced. Fleet management makes a lot of sense for municipalities. It ensures you're consistently rotating your fleet out so you don't get vehicles that are 10, 12 years old. Every 5 years, we'll be replacing those vehicles. Major highlights for this year include, we talked about our police cruisers. We'll have 108 new police vehicles in this first year, 337 over the next 5 years. And all the departments are receiving 14 vehicles this year and 257 over the next 5 years. We're making sure we're ready for winter. Salt prices are expected to go up, and we cut things pretty close with salt last season, even though we were trying to be as prepared as possible. So we're budgeting for an increased salt purchase. Emergency plows. When our major storms happen, we need high lifts and dump trucks from contractors to supplement our DPW workforce. We're giving Commissioner Skipper the actual money he needs for one or two major storms. Mechanics, we're adding a new heavy mechanic title to the budget for our heavy diesel mechanics. More tools. The welding folks that do some welding needed some additional tools there, making sure they have what they need to make repairs. We're budgeting for competitive salaries for our frontline DPW workers. We underpay across the city in many areas, but in particular, our folks with CDLs and other key areas under frontline DPW. We're trying to match competitive pay so we can actually hire people and keep them in the city of Buffalo instead of them immediately wanting to go to Buffalo Sewer or Erie County or another municipality. We're budgeting for new heavy equipment, including plows, compact utility tractors with snow blowers on the front of them. That's the top picture there. And also a new wrecker for this facility to tow out our broken down garbage trucks, dual axle vehicles, other heavy equipment. We have roughly $2.5 million available for vehicle purchases that could get us an additional 6 to 7 plows as well. As part of the budget, we're required to implement a 4-year plan. All 4-year plans are to a degree speculative, but we did our best job to be conservative where possible while also seeking future areas for increased revenue and savings. We used realistic projections for future cost growth, including in key expensive areas like healthcare and pension fund. For key revenue lines, we do not overinflate estimates. We do not assume we'll keep getting the additional AIM. We don't assume occupancy tax is going to be as high as it was budgeted this year. And we use sales tax numbers directly from the Erie County Budget Office. For grant administration, Director Brown will be working to make sure all of our grants write in a 10% administrative fee to help cover the cost of actually operating those grants as a best practice. Although it's difficult to say for sure, we roughly have $31 million in excess revenues over the course of the 4-year plan to begin to replenish our fund reserves. Now that doesn't really put a dent in the amount we have to put back there. Even for this fiscal year, we need $59 million should be an unassigned fund balance, but this at least begins to get us on the path there. There are some notable assumptions that I'm sure we'll be talking about some more, including the hope that a Seneca Gaming Compact is signed with a catch-up payment, but we still went conservative on that one there. And additional improvements in fee and fine collection via the Bureau of Administrative Adjudication and Treasury, as well as healthcare savings through our work with CBA negotiations. And I think that takes it away from me. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor Swanekamp, for helping break down these super complicated issues to us. So we're going to do something different this year. Open, transparent budget, but this is not what we're going to do anymore. We are not going to put our heads in the sand. We are not going to wish that things get better. We are not going to hope that our problems go away by ignoring them. We are facing our problems front on. And that's what I got elected to do, and that's what we're going to do. It's high time that we behave responsibly. We're the second largest city in New York State, and we're going to start acting like it. Plus, this is our only option. We literally cannot pay our bills that are coming due unless we make big changes. So what does this mean for you as a resident? It doesn't mean the same thing for every resident, because a property tax increase is based on the value of what you own. So right now, even with the increase that we're proposing, the city of Buffalo is still going to be half the tax rate of any neighboring municipality. If you move to Kenmore, your taxes will go up 3 times. If you move to Cheektowaga, you're paying 2.5 more taxes. Williamsville, the same. West Seneca, 2.2. So we will still be by far the most underfunded municipality in Erie County with these tax increases. So the impact's not the same for everybody. So the areas of red are the higher values areas of the city. If you live in one of these higher valued areas, you're going to see an increase of $93 a month or more. But the areas of blue, where homes are valued at $100,000, you'll see an increase of $12 a month. So as I said, the increase isn't uniform across the board. It's based on the value of what you own. So there's an added kicker. Let me start again. So with the 25% increase, if your house is under $75,000, you're going to pay $9.31 more a month. If you're assessed at $125,000, $15 a month. The mean house, average house, is at $208,000. That's $25 a month. And if you're $374 and above, you're going to go $43 more a month and up. But there's a big but here. If you have the STAR exemption, your increase is going to be substantially less. So if you have the STAR exemption under $175, you're paying $1.95 more a month. So these are the exemptions that are going to help our most vulnerable citizens. If you're at $125, you're only going to pay $8. If you're in the middle, you're going to pay $18. And if you're more than $347, you're going to pay $35. So that is a substantial change if you have the STAR exemption. But here's what we know. We know that 60% of the people of the city of Buffalo don't have the STAR exemption. They didn't apply for it. So we're going to be working throughout the community centers, working with faith-based organizations, church halls after Sunday services to get into those areas to encourage people to apply for the STAR exemption. It's available to so many different people. If you make less than $500,000, i.e. most of Buffalo, you're eligible for the basic STAR. If you're over 65, you could qualify for the senior exemption. Veteran, disabled, another exemption. And if you're a senior making under $110,000, the most vulnerable homeowners in our community, you'll qualify for an enhanced STAR. So we're going to be signing people up around the community for the STAR. And you will see by the end of the day today on the City of Buffalo website, we're going to put a calculator up. And with that calculator, you put in your address and it'll show you what your tax increases are going to be, because they are not going to be the same for everyone who lives in the city of Buffalo. We're going to be hosting an event at the Central Library on April 21st. We're going to help people understand the budget, how it affects them, and we'll have people from our departments there helping people fill out STAR exemptions. We'll have questions and answers from residents. So over the next few weeks, our administration will be hosting events like this and events to sign up for exemptions all over the city of Buffalo. So today's the transformational day. We're pulling out of the death spiral. We're going to start being a city that behaves fiscally responsible. We are going to start to be able to meet the needs of our citizens. It's the first day, so we know that we can build the better Buffalo that we all deserve, that the people of the city of Buffalo want, but we're only going to achieve that if we do an honest and transparent budget, and this is what we're presenting to the people of the city of Buffalo today.